Okay, let's unpack a scenario that I think every single person listening to this has fantasized about at least once. You're sitting at your desk, you've just had a killer month, you're looking at your commission slip, and the number is good, but then you look at the total billing figure, the amount of money you actually brought into the company.
And you do the math. You calculate the spread.
Exactly. You realize you are taking home, what, maybe 30%? And the house is keeping the rest. And you look around the office, you see the politics, you see the boss leaving early for golf, and that little voice in your head starts whispering,
Why am I doing this?
I'm the one with the client relationships. I'm the one finding the talent. I could do this myself. I could keep 100% of the money.
It is the classic recruiter's dream. The allure of the startup, freedom, control, building your own empire. And honestly, it's a valid dream. The barrier to entry in recruitment is technically so low, you just need a phone, a laptop, and a LinkedIn account.
Theoretically, yes. But that's the trap, isn't it? Because today we're diving into the massive, often fatal gap between being a big biller and actually running a solvent recruitment business. And that gap is where a lot of dreams and a lot of life savings go to die.
It is. We are looking at the operational survival guide for new recruitment agencies, and we've got a really interesting stack of sources for this deep dive. We're pulling insights from industry veterans like Steve Begg from the Genius Recruitment Group, and we're layering that with some hard-nosed financial data from experts like Danny Marlowe at A Positive.
So we've got the recruitment strategy side and the financial reality side. And the mission today isn't to tell you how to interview a candidate. If you're thinking about starting an agency, you already know how to recruit.
Right. You don't need help with the art of recruitment. You need help with the machinery of business. We need to unpack the operational factors that help a new agency cover its costs quickly. We need to talk about surviving the cash flow gap, which is a terrifying concept we will get to. And we need to discuss decision fatigue, which the sources argue is actually the silent killer of more founders than bankruptcy is.
So let's jump right in. The sources paint this picture of the allure versus the harsh reality. And the harsh reality has a name, the cash burn phase.
This is the phase that starts the second you resign. You no longer have a salary, you have overheads. Money is going out for software, for branding, for legal fees, but nothing is coming in yet.
And the sources are very clear. In this phase, your goal isn't growth or market dominance.
No, your goal is survival. Specifically, your goal is to reach the break-even point, or BEP.
The BEP. It sounds like Accounting 101, but Steve Begg's material really emphasizes this as a psychological milestone, not just a financial one.
It's the specific moment where your total revenue finally equals your total fixed and variable costs. Until you hit that day, your business is technically dying. You're running on a timer, and that timer is your savings account.
That puts a bit of pressure on it. So how do we stop the timer? The sources outline a few specific operational factors to speed this up. The first one is about strategy. Niche.
The inch wide, mile deep versus mile wide, inch deep concept.
I love this analogy because I think the instinct when you're panicked about money is to cast the net as wide as possible.
It's the panic response. You think, I need revenue, so I'll recruit for anyone. Tech, healthcare, construction, admin. If they pay a fee, I'll take the job. That's the mile wide approach. But operationally, that is a disaster.
Why? Wouldn't more potential clients mean more potential money?
In theory, maybe. But in practice, you are spreading your limited resources, your time, and your marketing energy over a massive surface area. You become a generalist. And in a crowded market like recruitment, generalists are noise. You have to hustle for every single lead because nobody knows who you are.
Whereas if you go inch wide.
Let's say you decide, I am only going to recruit cybersecurity analysts in Sydney. Suddenly, your marketing is laser focused. You know exactly where those people hang out online. You know exactly what the client's pain points are. You develop pull in the market instead of constantly having to push.
You become the expert, and experts get paid faster.
Exactly. It shortens the sales cycle. And shortening the sales cycle brings that break-even point closer. But there's another concept in the Genius Recruitment Group ebook that I thought was even more critical for that early phase. The distinction between a warm lead and a seed client.
Oh, this is a big one. I feel like a lot of people quit their jobs based on warm leads.
They do. A warm lead is that coffee chat you had with an old client who said, yeah, mate, give me a ring when you launch. We might have something for you.
That feels good. It feels like money in the bank.
But it's not. It's polite conversation. It's hope. And you cannot pay your mortgage with hope. The sources define a seed client very differently. A seed client is someone who is ready to generate revenue in month one.
So this is a client where the relationship is deep enough that you can say, I am launching on Monday. And they say, great, here's the job spec, send me the terms, let's go.
Precisely. The goal is to secure these seed clients before you enter the cash burn phase. If you launch with 2 or 3 seed clients, you might hit break even in 6 weeks. If you rely on warm leads, it could be 6 months. And most people don't have 6 months of runway.
Okay, so let's say we have the niche, we have the seed clients, and finally money starts trickling in. That first invoice gets paid. $20,000 lands in the account.
And this is the danger zone.
The danger zone, it sounds like a victory.
It feels like a victory. But the sources mention a very specific tactical tip for managing that money, the 3-bank account system. This is about fighting the illusion of wealth.
Because when you see $20,000 in the bank, you think, I have $20,000 to spend.
Correct. But you don't. A huge chunk of that money is already spoken for. So the advice is to split your banking into 3 distinct buckets. Account 1 is operations. That's where the revenue hits, and that's what you use to pay the rent, the software subscriptions, the day-to-day stuff.
And account 2.
Account 2 is the liabilities account.
Yeah.
This is where the discipline comes in. Every single time money hits your operations account, you immediately slice off the GST, the superannuation, and the corporate tax percentage. You move it to account 2 and you quarantine it.
You treat it like it's radioactive, you don't touch it.
You never touch it because that money belongs to the government or your employees' retirement funds. And in Australia specifically, the ATO, the tax office, is not a creditor you want to mess with.
No, they have very big teeth.
They do. If you spend your GST money on a fancy office chair because you thought you had the cash, you are in for a very rude awakening at the end of the quarter. And then account 3 is profit. That is what is left over.
I like this system because it removes the mental math. You don't have to look at your balance and guess how much is actually yours.
Exactly. It reduces the cognitive load. And speaking of load, we need to talk about the cash flow gap. The sources describe this as a valley of death specific to recruitment.
This is where the operational model really matters. If you were doing permanent placements, it's fairly simple. You place, you invoice, you wait, you get paid.
Right. Your only cost is your time. But if you are doing temporary or contract recruitment labor hire, you have a massive structural problem.
Because the contractors want to get paid now.
Weekly or fortnightly. By law, in Australia, you have to pay them. You can't tell a contractor, I'll pay you and the client pays me. That's illegal.
But the client, the big bank, the government department, the construction firm, they aren't paying weekly.
No way. They have payment terms. 30 days, end of month, maybe 60 days. In Australia, the average debtor days, the time it takes to get paid, can be over 44 days.
But let's do the math on that. If I have, say, 10 contractors working for me.
Okay. 10 contractors. Let's say you're paying them $2,000 a week each. That's $20,000 cash leaving your bank account every single Friday.
And if the client takes 60 days to pay,
you are paying out $20,000 in a week for 8 weeks. That is $160,000 in cash you need to find just to make payroll before you see your first cent of revenue back from the client.
that is terrifying. That's not dip into your savings money. That's sell the house money.
It is, and this is why so many agencies fail in the growth phase. They actually fail because they're too successful. They win a big contract, they put 20 guys on site, and then they realize they can't make payroll next Friday because the cash is stuck in the 60-day gap.
So you literally grow yourself into bankruptcy.
You do, and this is where the section on leveraging specialist partners becomes the most important operational advice in the whole deep dive. You cannot solve this with a credit card. You need specialist funding, often called payroll funding or debtor finance.
Explain the mechanics of that. How does it bridge the gap?
Essentially, a funding partner like a Positive, who are mentioned in the sources, acts as the bridge. When you raise an invoice for the client for that $20,000, you send it to the funder. The funder immediately advances you the cash.
So you get the money today.
You get it today. You use that cash to pay the contractors. Then, when the client finally pays in 60 days, the funding partner takes their cut and settles the balance with you.
So they're floating your cash flow.
Exactly. It accelerates your cash flow from 60 days to 24 hours. It means you can say yes to new business without worrying about where the payroll money is coming from. It removes the cap on your growth.
It's interesting that you mentioned specialist partners there, because there was a specific horror story in the Steve Big material about using generalist accountants.
This was a standout example. When you start, it's tempting to use your local accountant, the guy who does your personal tax return. He's nice, he's cheap. But recruitment has weird rules.
Like, deemed employer status.
Right. If you hire contractors for tax purposes, you are often deemed their employer, even if they are independent. The story in the source material was about an agency using a generalist accountant who missed the payroll tax on the profit and loss statement.
Oh, no.
And he was double counting superannuation in a way that inflated their perceived costs.
So the founder thought they were making less money than they were, and simultaneously building up a massive tax debt they didn't know about.
It was a mess. When they finally brought in a specialist recruitment accountant, they cleaned up the books and realized they were saving or stopping the leakage of $6,000 a month.
$6,000 a month?
Yeah.
That accelerates your break-even point massively.
It goes straight to the bottom line. It really proves that generalist advice is often the most expensive advice you can buy. You need partners who speak the language of recruitment liabilities.
This actually segues perfectly into the next big chunk of our deep dive. We've talked about financial survival funding, accounts, taxes, but we need to talk about mental survival. The hidden killer.
Decision fatigue.
The sources, particularly Danny Marlowe and the article on Every Way a Startup Can Fail, highlight this. It's not just burnout in the sense of working long hours. It's a specific biological mechanism.
It is. Think about your brain like a battery. You have a finite amount of executive function, the ability to make choices per day. As a founder, you are making hundreds of decisions. Should we hire this person? How do we handle this negotiation? What about this invoice? Which software should we use?
And when you add financial stress to that mix,
It accelerates the drain. Financial uncertainty puts your brain into short-term firefighting mode. When you don't know if you can make payroll, you lose the ability to think strategically. You get cognitive tunneling.
you're just looking at the fire right in front of you.
Exactly. And the scary part is, as decision fatigue sets in, you literally become worse at making decisions. You start procrastinating or making safe, bad choices just to avoid the pain of deciding.
So the solution isn't just do yoga or sleep more. It has to be structural.
It has to be. You have to remove the decisions that don't generate revenue. You have to lower the load.
Let's make this concrete. The sources compare the IT burden to recruiter core duties. This was a great example of where founders waste brain power.
It is. Imagine you are a solo founder. You are trying to bill, but suddenly your laptop crashes. Blue screen of death. Or you get a suspicious email that looks like a ransomware attack.
If you're doing this yourself, your billing day is over.
Your week might be over. You have to research how to fix it, maybe drive to a store to buy a new laptop, figure out how to restore your backups, all while worrying about the Australian privacy principles and whether you've just leaked candidate data.
That is high-stress work, but it's zero revenue work.
It's negative revenue. Every hour you spend playing IT guy is an hour you aren't calling clients. The Genius Recruitment Group source mentions a model where they offer 24364 support.
364. Do they take Christmas off?
Presumably. The point isn't just that the laptop gets fixed. The point is that you didn't have to make 10 decisions about how to fix.
You just kept working.
Yeah.
You kept the revenue engine running.
Exactly. And this applies to everything. Finance, compliance, admin. There was a funny analogy in the source material about the payroll fairy.
I love the payroll fairy.
It's so accurate, though. When you are an employee, money just appears in your bank account every fortnight. It's magic. You don't think about the tax calculations, the leave loading, the super contributions. The payroll fairy visited.
But when you start a business,
You are the fairy. And it turns out being the fairy is stressful. You have to calculate the tax, the super, the leave loading. It's a massive administrative burden.
and this goes back to outsourcing. If you outsource the finance and the back office, you are essentially hiring a mechanical payroll fairy so you can get back to being a recruiter.
Exactly. It reduces the stress of the transition. You want to replicate that stability you had as an employee so you can focus your energy on the high-value risk-taking, which is winning business.
So what does this all mean for the listener who is sitting there maybe with a resignation letter drafted in their head?
It means you need to respect the operational weight of the business. Recruitment is a great industry, but the barriers to success are operational.
So let's recap the formula we've pulled from these sources. Step 1.
Step 1, niche down. Go inch wide, mile deep. Don't rely on hustle, rely on being the expert. Get those seed clients before you launch.
Step 2. Financial discipline.
The 3-bank account system. Separate your operations from your liabilities. Never ever spend the tax man's money.
Step 3. Bridge the gap.
Survive the cash flow gap. If you are doing contract recruitment, get a specialist funding partner. Don't try to be the bank for your clients. You will run out of cash.
And finally, protect your brain.
Yes. Reduce decision fatigue. Outsource the IT, the compliance, the payroll. Don't try to be the CEO, the CFO, and the IT support desk all at once. You will burn out and your business will fail, not because you can't recruit, but because you're too tired to lead.
It's a compelling argument. It's not just start a business, it's design a business that you can actually survive running.
That's the key. Design for survival first, growth second.
Now, before we sign off, there was one final provocative thought in the sources that I think is worth dwelling on. It was about that word we started with, freedom.
This is a really important distinction to end on. The sources mention that most people start agencies because they want freedom, but they clarify what that means. It's not about working less. Most founders work harder than they ever did as employees.
So what is the freedom?
It's the freedom to control your time, to go to your kid's school sports day on a Tuesday morning and make up the work on Tuesday night, to choose who you work with. But, and this is a big warning, if you are bogged down in admin, if you are fighting with your laptop, if you are stressed about payroll tax compliance, have you actually achieved freedom?
Or have you just bought yourself a more stressful job?
Exactly. If you don't build the structural support we talked about, the outsourcing, the specialist partners, you aren't free. You are just an employee of a very badly run company where you are also the boss.
That is a thought to chew on. Are you building a business that gives you freedom or a business that gives you a headache?
It's the ultimate question for any founder.
Well, on that cheerful note, thank you for walking us through the weeds of operational survival.
My pleasure. It's the unsexy stuff that keeps you in business.
Absolutely. And to you listening, thanks for diving deep with us. Hopefully this helps you turn those seed clients into a thriving empire. We will catch you on the next deep dive.